Ladies and gentlemen, our program will begin immediately. If you are not seated, please do so now. Thank you.
That's cold-blooded, man. Look, Marshall, don't worry, man. You in. Wake up, Vic.
Will all the Stars and Stripes founding fathers please report backstage? Founding fathers, please report backstage immediately. Thank you. The 28th Black Engineer of the Year Awards Conference, co-hosted by Lockheed Martin Corporation, the Council of Engineering Deans of the Historically Black Colleges and Universities, and U.S. Black Engineer and Information Technology Magazine, and sponsored by Aerotech, welcomes you to the 9th Annual Stars and Stripes Dinner, brought to you by Miss Linda Gooden, Mr. and Mrs. Rodney and Michelle Atkins, Aerotech, General Dynamics Corporation, George Washington University, Lockheed Martin Corporation, Northrop Grumman Corporation, Raytheon Company, the Boeing Company, USAA, and Worldwide Technology Incorporated. Ladies and gentlemen, now please welcome the founders of this Stars and Stripes event as they take their place on the dais. They are all retired patriots who continue to serve our great nation. Brigadier General Velma Richardson, United States Army. Mr. William Brown, Senior Executive Service. Rear Admiral Stephen Rochon, United States Coast Guard. Vice Admiral Andy Wins, United States Navy. Lieutenant General Joe Ballard, United States Army. Vice Admiral Walter Davis, United States Navy. General Lester Lyles, United States Air Force. The host of this year's Stars and Stripes dinner, Major General Ronald Johnson, United States Army. National Chair of the Stars and Stripes Alumni Committee, General Johnny Wilson, United States Army. Stars and Stripes founders, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the United States Army Band, Pershing's Own, under the command of Colonel Thomas H. Palmatier, and led by Drum Major Sergeant First Class Promotable Julian Ayers. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the presentation of colors by the United States Joint Color Guard and the singing of the national anthem by Sergeant First Class Lee Ann Hinton.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets ripped through, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh,
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, during the following performance of the Armed Forces Medley by the United States Army Band, Pershing's Own, current and former military members in the audience are invited to stand and be recognized when your service song is played.
We're always ready for the call. We place our trust in Thee. Through surf and storm and howling gale, I shall our purpose be. Semper Paratus is our guide, our fame, our glory too. To fight, to save, or fight and die, Coast Guard, we are for you. Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, zooming to meet our thunder. Atom boys, give her the gun, give her the gun. Down we dive, spouting our flame from under. Off with one hell of a roar. In fame or go down in flame, hey, nothing can stop the U.S. Air Force. Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. Farewell to foreign shores, we sail at break of day, through our last night on shore. Drink to the full until we meet once more. Here's wishing you a happy voyage home from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. We fight our country's battles in the air, on land, and the sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marine. First to fight for the right and to build the nation's might, and the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the army goes rolling along. Then is high, high, hey, the army's on its way. Count off the cadence loud and strong, for wherever we go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along.
Please stand for the invocation, delivered by the 24th Deputy Chief of Chaplains of the United States Army, Chaplain Brigadier General Charles R. Bailey.
Please allow me to approach in prayer our one God on behalf of all of our faiths represented here tonight. Let us pray. O God of truth, the power of our nation's freedom, source of all wisdom, strength, and liberty, giver of our faith, on whom our hopes depend, hear this prayer for those who support, enable, and defend. You have led us as caissons went rolling along. You have guided us on the high seas, strengthened us in the wild blue yonder, and been with us at Montezuma and Tripoli. As we hear the roll of the drum and the blare of brass, the tramping of marching warriors, as we pay honors to the colors, we give you thanks. O God of mercy, we beg you now to protect in a special way those who are fighting for us and for the country we love. Bless them and take care of them. If they're tired, give them strength. If they're wounded and suffering, give them comfort. If they're lonely, touch them with your gentle hand and let them know that you are near them. As we celebrate and honor tonight those who have served our great nation through sacrifice and love of country, we invoke your presence and blessings upon this significant moment in their lives, as well as their supporting families. Bless this gathering as partake of the richness and blessings of our land in nourishment of the body and fellowship of the Spirit. And in the end, our Lord, may it be said of us all, those who lead and those who follow, that we did so with integrity befitting honor, honor to both God and our country. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Please give a warm welcome to our host and committee chair of the 2014 Stars and Stripes Dinner, Major General Ronald Johnson, United States Army, retired.
Good evening, distinguished guests, awardees and honorees, military and federal civilian employees, corporate sponsors, and students. On behalf of the Stars and Stripes Alumni Committee and the United States Army, we welcome you. The 9th Annual Stars and Stripes Dinner at Bea is one of the nation's largest events honoring both active and retired African American admirals, generals, members of the senior executive service, and the backbone of our military, our enlisted force. Each year, the host of Stars and Stripes alternates on a rotating basis between the Army, Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps, and the Coast Guard. This year, we are Army strong. We are especially grateful for the attendance of so many at the highest levels of leadership. I'd like to recognize those people now, and please forgive me for any omissions that I make. First of all, Vice Chief of Staff of the United States Army, General John Campbell. Please indulge me and hold your applause until I am complete with my salutations. Admiral Jonathan Greenert, United States Navy. Admiral Mark Ferguson, United States Navy. Admiral Michelle Howard, United States Navy. General Vincent Brooks, United States Army. General Dennis Vai, United States Army. General Lloyd Austin, United States Army. General John Paxton, United States Marine Corps. General Mark Welsh, United States Air Force. General Larry Spencer, United States Air Force. Admiral Robert Papp, United States Coast Guard. Sergeant Major of the Army Raymond Chandler, United States Army. Dr. Andrew Weber, Assistant Secretary of Defense for Nuclear, Chemical, and Biological Programs. Lieutenant General Joseph Langale, National Guard Bureau. Honorable Al Linhart, former Ambassador of Tanzania. Honorable Charles Bolden, former NASA Administrator. Wes Bush, CEO and President of Northrop Grumman Corporation. Marilyn Houston, Chairman, President, and CEO of Lockheed Martin. Norm Augustine, retired Chair and CEO of Lockheed Martin. Roger Crone, President, Network and Space Systems, Boeing. Dave Stewart, Chairman, Co-founder, Worldwide Tech. We have living legends with us tonight. Lieutenant General Julius Becton, former 7th Corps Commander, President of Peer Review, DC School Superintendent, and served our Army during every war, including World War II. Lieutenant General Arthur Gregg, former Deputy Chief of Staff of Logistics for the United States Army. Brigadier General Claire Adams Ender, former Chief Army Nurse Corps. Major Pat Lott, Hawk, the first black female graduate of West Point. Representing the Triple Nickel Parachute Infantry Association, Colonel Harry Townsend and Jim Jackson. Representing the 9th and 10th Cavalry Horse, Buffalo Soldier, Michael III, Lynn Hill, William Hunter, and David Smith. As we all gather to acknowledge our pride in protecting and serving this great country, we remain committed to our evening's theme, Trust Beyond Expectations. Our military is a trusted, multicultural, intellectual resource of engineers, technologists, scientists, and medical professionals who are a critical part of the nation's supply chain. In addition to recognizing the accomplishments of military servicemen and women this evening, we instill greater promise in our young people through the Stars and Stripes Active Mentoring Program. Our youth mentoring event held earlier today is often a life-changing experience for participating high school students and their mentors. The military embraces the program's objectives, which are first, to honor and recognize African Americans for their unwavering contributions over the years to our nation's security, and secondly, to impress upon young people of color the importance of STEM to our nation's global competitiveness. The participating mentors and proteges are the trust that helps form the foundations for the future of our services and our nation. We'll hear more about it later from General Johnny Wilson. I also want to call your attention to the current issue of the U.S. Black Engineer and Technology Top Blacks in the Military magazine that is in everyone's seat at your table. Featured on the cover with General Raymond T. Odierno, the Chief of Staff of our Army, are 3 black 4-star Army generals, the first time in our nation's military history. I know that these gentlemen are all here, and I would ask when I call your name, please stand to be recognized. General Dennis Vi, Commander of U.S. Army Materiel Command. General Lloyd Austin, Commander of U.S. Central Command. And General Vincent Brooks, Commanding General of U.S. Army Pacific. Speaking of our magazine, we're privileged to have with us tonight many of the men and women who have been honored in this issue. At this time, I would ask that all of our honorees please stand. As the nation's most senior military service branch, the United States Army has much to be proud of. Since its official founding on 14 June 1775, more than a year before the Declaration of Independence, we have played a significant role in the defense, security, and honor of this country. And we have a 239-year heritage to show for it. Early on, we won the new republic's independence in an arduous 8-year struggle against Great Britain. During the Civil War, we preserved the Union through 4 years of bitter conflict that turned brother against brother. We have repeatedly defended the United States against external threats, from the Second War of Independence with Great Britain in 1812 through the Crusades that finally rid the world of the specters of Nazi totalitarianism, Japanese imperialism, and world communism. In 1948, President Truman directed the full integration of the armed forces. Faced with administrative problems resulting from the maintenance of 2 personnel systems during the Korean War, the Army integrated its units, placing the service at the forefront of the battle for racial equality. When violence erupted in Little Rock, Arkansas, after 9 African Americans enrolled at Central High School in September 1957, President Eisenhower called the State National Guard in the Federal Service and sent a battle group of the 101st Airborne Division to enforce a court order for integration. Army troops helped enforce integration at the University of Mississippi in 1962 and in Alabama schools in 1963. In the late 60s, the Army joined efforts by the Department of Defense to end discrimination in off-base housing. Since the 1970s, we have stood at the vanguard of expanding equal opportunity through affirmative action programs. In the mid-60s, the Army joined the nation's war on poverty by taking steps to overcome the weak educational backgrounds of many of its recruits by instituting educational benefits. The results exceeded the service's expectations. Equipped with skills as mechanics, medical technicians, clerks, and other vocations, these soldiers returned to their communities better able to contribute to society than before they had entered the Army. We then instituted Project Transition and provided job training and counseling to help veterans return to civilian life. The Army of the 60s and 70s also offered new opportunities for women. In 1967, President Lyndon Baines Johnson eliminated the restrictions on percentages of women in promotions, opening the door for the first female Army generals in 1970. In 1972, women first entered ROTC, and in 1976, they entered the United States Military Academy at West Point. Despite an ongoing prohibition on women in combat positions, the Army had compiled an enviable record in providing new opportunities to women. The defense of our nation has always been the Army's primary mission, and there is no shortage of military fronts where we currently serve. But combat is not our only mission. From the beginning, we have also been involved with internal improvements, natural disaster relief, economic assistance, domestic order, and a host of other contingencies. Over the course of American history, one can truly say of the Army, when we were needed, we were there and trusted beyond expectations. We are proud to stand side by side with the men and women of the United States Navy, the Marines, the Air Force, and the Coast Guard. We all stand on the shoulders of brave men and women who have given their hearts and souls for our freedom, and we are proud to be part of the ongoing legacy. Now, speaking of legacy, I'd like to introduce you to our MCs for tonight. Newly promoted Lieutenant Colonel Clydea Pritchard Brown is a branch chief of training ammunition for the Headquarters Department of the Army, Pentagon, where she is responsible for providing ammunition to facilities including Army training installations, schoolhouses, and deployment training sites. Soon to be promoted, Major Clydelia Pritchard Allen is a physical evaluations board adjudicator in Arlington, Virginia, and most recently the Special Actions Officer and Deputy G3 for the Director of United States Army Physical Disability Agency under the G1. She is responsible for reviewing the packets of military veterans with physical disability who are seeking a medical re-eval of their final medical entitlements as a result of their years of service. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our MCs for the evening, Lieutenant Colonel Clydea Pritchard Brown and Major Promotable Clydelia Pritchard Allen.
Well, thank you, sir, for such a warm and welcoming introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and again, welcome to the Bayes Stars and Stripes Awards Dinner. Before we get started, let me go on and clear something up now. I am Lieutenant Colonel Clydea Pritchard Brown. You can call me Dia. And yes, we are twins. So you're not seeing double and you don't have to adjust your glasses. But we're not just twins by birth. As you can see, we're also twins by the choice of paths of careers we have. And I am Major Clydelia Pritchard Allen, or you can call me Delia. Now, as Dia mentioned, we do kind of have very similar military and twin careers. Dia and I graduated from high school at age 16 and started college together. Now, our mother was a single parent, so, money was hard to come by. So, of course, we took on part-time jobs to help out around the house. But it wasn't until our third year of college when I saw a commercial for the United States Army. The United States Army. It told me I could serve my country while they pay for the rest of my college. I didn't need any arm twisting. I marched right down to the recruiting office and asked them, where do I sign on the dotted line? And that's exactly what I did. I signed on the dotted line, enlisting in the reserves first and later active duty. Now, I followed in my sister's footsteps after watching her for a whole year in the military. But I enlisted active duty. And I also went one step further. I filled out my Green to Gold scholarship packet. And while serving in Sinai, Egypt, I found out I was accepted to the program. So when I returned to the United States, I was able to go to school and finish my college education by going through the ROTC program. Now, of course, it was my turn to follow in her footsteps. And I did just that. I applied for the Green to Gold program as well and was accepted. I was the first cadet female brigade commander for my school, South Carolina State University, or Bulldogs. And I was the first female and first minority cadet battalion commander of my school, Indiana University, Purdue University of Indiana. We don't have a motto. IUPUI? Okay, there. So, we have the proud moment of being in front of you today. Now, after 20 years of service, both of us stand before you, keenly aware of our responsibility to continue to mentor our young women and men and help bring them up through the ranks. Now, we're proud of our service to our nation and the many sacrifices that we've made in the military. And all of you all know, military service does come with a true sacrifice. But we're even more grateful for the pride that we've instilled in our children. Wait for it. In keeping with the twin factor, we both have 13-year-old sons and 7-year-old daughters. It wasn't planned. Truly, it wasn't planned. I didn't call her, didn't prepare that. But they're already fighting on who's going to go Army and who's going to go Air Force. Go Army. Now, speaking of pride of service, we'd like to ask all of our active duty and retired military and our dedicated DoD civilians to please stand so that we can recognize you for your support to the military. Please stand. There you go. Thank you. And because we know the wind beneath the wings of our servicemen and servicewomen are their spouses and significant others, we ask that you stand as well so we could recognize you, because you just do just as much as they do. Thank you as well. Now, we also want to take a moment to thank the Army's, United States Army's band, Pershing Zone, the Joint Armed Forces Color Guard, our wonderful vocalist, Sergeant First Class Leanne Hinton, Brigadier General Chaplain Charles R. Bailey, and the David Brown Jazz Band for your dinner music and our vocals that are going throughout this evening. Thank you all. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we invite you to sit back and enjoy your meal as the evening continues. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our program is about to begin. Please take your seats. Our program is about to begin. Please take your seats. Thank you. At this time, we'd like to welcome to the stage the Chairman, Chief Executive Officer, and President of Northrop Grumman Corporation, Wes Bush.
Well, good evening, everyone. It's really an honor to be here this evening and to participate in the Stars and Stripes ceremony, as well as this amazing BEA Conference event. So let me start by first taking a moment to recognize the hard work and the dedication of Tyrone Taborn, the CEO of Career Communications, for his tremendous vision, his leadership, and his passion that has brought together the Black Engineer of the Year Conference. Tyrone, where are you? Let's give him a round of applause. And Tyrone, of course, has a team, and I want to recognize the entire Career Communications team for their hard work and their absolute commitment to excellence. Congratulations and thanks for a great evening, and thank you for just a wonderful conference here. I'm also proud of all of the sponsors for their tremendous support. And tonight is truly special as we salute some of the most brilliant minds in science, engineering, and technology. We have the honor of being in the presence of individuals of service, selflessness, and accomplishments in the uniforms of our nation. And there's yet one more thing that marks this evening as truly special. Today, we had the inaugural event for the BEA Stars and Stripes Initiative. From 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. today, we offered our veterans the opportunity to attend panel discussions, breakout sessions, job expo, and an array of services made available through nonprofit partners and government agencies. Earlier today, several sponsors of the conference that have active programs for our veterans were recognized. They include General Motors, JP Morgan Chase, Exelon Corporation, American Express, and AT&T. Please join me in extending a heartfelt thank you to all those individuals and organizations who are working so hard to turn gratitude into action for our veterans. Our coming together this evening is intended to represent more than a well-deserved expression of gratitude to those who have made military service their life's work. We also gather to recognize Black History Month, which allows us to reflect on the life and the legacy of so many who have paved the way and upon whose shoulders we now stand. I'll give you just a few examples of that. Daniel Chappie James, the first African-American four-star general. Of course, looking back in history, the Tuskegee Airmen. Wesley Brown, the first African-American graduate of the Naval Academy. And finally, someone I know who is here with us this evening, Michelle Howard, the first African-American woman to achieve three-star rank in the U.S. Armed Forces, in addition to being the first African-American woman to command a U.S. Navy ship. And last December, the Senate approved her nomination for promotion to admiral, making her the first female four-star admiral in our Navy's 238-year history. Congratulations, Admiral. Can you stand? Saw her a few moments ago. There she is. These are all wonderful examples of American excellence. This evening also serves to validate and recommit ourselves to an obvious proposition that our nation is best served when it is broadly served, and that the difficult task of defending our nation is most effectively achieved when the talent pool from which we draw our military professionals is as large and as diverse as possible. This evening's program is evidence of the commitment to that vision. So on behalf of all of the corporate sponsors here, we thank you for allowing us to be a part of such a great evening, and we thank you for the tremendous partnership. Thanks, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the podium the National Chair of the Stars and Stripes Alumni Committee, General Johnny Wilson, United States Army retired.
Good evening, all, and thanks. The military thanks you, Wes, your team, and all of the companies throughout our great nation that continue to support our troops and their families. What about a hand for our corporate family? Now, as I look out on this huge audience, I'm reminded that just 9 years ago, when we first inaugurated this Stars and Stripes event here at Bea, it began as a small breakfast in a modest-sized hotel meeting room. Now, as I recall, we expected about 50 people, and there were about 200 people in attendance. Well, we've certainly come a long way. Additionally, we've also come a long way in creating and implementing our Stars and Stripes mentoring program as one of the most significant parts of this event. Now, under the outstanding leadership of retired Vice Admirals Andy Wins and Walt Davis, we have seen this program designed for high school students grow year after year. Now, earlier this afternoon, we had more than 100 active duty admirals, generals, and SES personnel working directly with more than 350 students from 20 high schools throughout the area, plus cadets from West Point and the Howard ROTC Cadet Battalion. Our mentors hail from throughout the military services and the SES community, and we also had the assistance of proctors, this year from the ROCS Incorporated and the National Naval Officers Association. Now I want to thank Lockheed Martin and Raytheon for their support of our mentoring session. Now at this time, I'd like Vice Admirals Wins, Davis, our mentoring team, all of the mentors in the committees and proctors to please stand as we recognize them. Now, there are about 50 or 60 students with us this evening as well, and I would say to the students, in this room are many people, something like 800 here tonight, who all support you, and hopefully you will leave this evening knowing that you have a range of options. So you can leave here, wake up tomorrow and say, I want to be an engineering dean, I want to be a corporate executive, or maybe a military leader. So the ball is in your court, but we stand ready to help you. And for our mentor, mentoring program, we certainly look forward to even greater participation in the coming year. Now also keep in mind that our mentoring program continues beyond today. Now, this is an opportunity for all of our retirees to help mentor our young folks in our ongoing program. And the return on investment is immeasurable for our nation. So if you're interested, Ron Johnson has a list up here and has a book, so please see him after the dinner. Also, I want you to know that while we sit here this evening in another ballroom in this hotel, there are more than 800 students who are attending the Bea Student Leadership Award ceremony. And all of us volunteers were just proud as can be to be part of a program that's so supportive of America's youth. Now, I have the pleasure of introducing an executive who has been among Stars and Stripes' biggest advocates and brings greetings on behalf of the Bea Alumni Association. Now, he is responsible for Raytheon's worldwide sales and marketing, international business, and government relations and operations. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Vice President of Business Development for Raytheon Company, the CEO of Raytheon International, and a trustee with AUSA, and the 2010 Black Engineer of the Year, John D. Harris.
Thank you, General Wilson, and good evening, everyone. It's an honor, absolute honor and a privilege to be here as a Bea alumnus and to be part of an organization that is committed to diversity and to innovation. Tonight's special gathering of military, government, and industry leaders celebrates talented emerging leaders in the defense community. On behalf of Bea, we are thankful for all of the men and women in uniform, and congratulations to all of the winners. Now, every year that I attend, I'm even more energized by the outstanding future leaders that this event draws. This event represents our nation's values of service, diversity, and innovation. All three are so important in sustaining our nation's future. And under Ty Taborn's fantastic leadership, Bea has become a national treasure by continuing to guide the current and future generation of innovative African-American leaders. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics initiatives like the Bea Conference help build a STEM workforce by bringing together high-achieving individuals. This occasion reminds me and reminds us all of our collective mission to inspire tomorrow's innovators and leaders. I am continually humbled by this event that honors the best and the brightest of our future engineers and warfighters. Thank you again to our military servicemen and women who are here this evening, and to those serving around the world. And thank you so much for being here tonight, and I would hope that you all enjoy the rest of the evening. Good night, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. And a good evening again, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'd like to point out this evening that in our prestigious audience, we have the 2014 Black Engineer of the Year, Vice President and General Manager of the Information Systems and Global Solutions for Lockheed Martin Corporation, Ms. Stephanie C. Hill. Ma'am, would you please stand this evening? Thank you so much. Now, many current and prior BEA Award winners have joined us this evening. If you've been the award winner or recipient of any award at our Stars and Stripes dinner or at any BEA event, we ask that you please stand as well. The Stars and Stripes dinners honors the contributions of African American men and women in our armed forces and promotes awareness of their sacrifices and their talents. It is a highly competitive process whereby each service group selects an awardee that exemplifies its values, to which 8 awards in total are given. 6 of these awards are from the Officers Corps, 1 from each Officers Corps group and the National Guard. And then we have the SES that's selected to represent the SES Corps. And finally, we have 1 non-commissioned officer who is selected from the host group this evening that is recognized as well. So we thank you all for that. Now, each year, the leadership of the Stars and Stripes rotates to a different service group. This year, we're proud to be Army Strong. Huh? Now, please, roll the video.
In the life of our nation, across every generation, there are those who stand apart. They step up, they raise their hands, they take that oath, they put on the uniform, and they put their lives on the line. They do this so that the rest of us might live in a country and a world that is safer, freer, and more just. This is the gift they've given us. This is the debt that we owe them.
The all-volunteer Army remains the most highly trained and professional land force in the world. This is possible in part to the coveted support of our Department of the Army civilians and Army family members. It is uniquely organized with the capability and capacity to provide expeditionary, decisive land power to the joint force and ready to perform across a range of military operations to prevent, shape, and win our wars to defend the nation and its interests at home and abroad, both today and against emerging threats. Throughout the history of our nation, from the Revolutionary War to the current global war on terrorism, men and women from all walks of life have donned the uniform, have sacrificed and changed the courses of their lives and those of their families' lives to answer the call of duty, serving selflessly to protect freedom, peace, humanity, and our American values here and throughout the world. Today, America's Army is engaged in nearly 150 countries around the world, with over 93,000 soldiers deployed today and 95,000 forward stationed. We have the best equipped, best trained, and best led Army in history, and it is because of the 1.1 million professional soldiers who serve in the Army, Army Reserves, and Army National Guard, our Department of the Army civilians, and our Army families, all who carry the same patriotism and devotion of soldiers of the Continental Army. America's soldiers are true professionals. Each American soldier is an expert, a volunteer certified in the profession of arms. As professionals, our soldiers serve a very important client, the United States of America. They understand their actions are far-reaching and serve the vital interests of our nation. Our nation depends on its Army to help with the recovery efforts in the wake of a natural disaster, defeat enemy forces abroad, and defend the shores of our homeland. Our professional soldiers work, study, and train to ensure the Army will not fail in its call to meet the needs of our nation. As our Army evolves, leadership and professionalism remains our Army's bedrock and the foundation of our future. The world is getting more complicated, and America will face a wide range of global challenges, slowdowns in the global economy, increasing competition over scarce natural resources, or the influence of extremist groups. The war in Iraq is over, operations in Afghanistan will soon come to an end, and the Army is in the process of getting leaner. By 2017, the Army's size will decrease, and we will field a very different force than the one we had prior to 9/11. With all these changes we face, one thing will never change. The Army is always about soldiers. We're not about equipment. We're not about things. We're about people, and we stand together as professionals. We stand beside our soldiers and families who have sacrificed for our nation to help them heal visible and invisible wounds. And it is this resiliency which testifies to the confidence America has in its soldiers.
Around the world, there's a new attitude toward America, new confidence in our leadership. When people are asked, which country do you admire most? One nation always comes out on top: the United States of America. And that's the progress that we've made thanks to your incredible service. We're winding down a decade of war. We're destroying terrorist networks that attacked us. And we've restored American leadership. Today, every American can be proud that the United States is safer, the United States is stronger, and the United States is more respected in the world. With the end of the wars, our military will be leaner, but we'll keep making historic investments to keep you the absolute best military in the world, bar none. The United States will always maintain our military superiority. In you, we've got the best trained, best led, best equipped military in human history. And as Commander-in-Chief, I'm going to keep it that way.
Our most superior weapon is still the professional American soldier, who continues to serve wherever called, the all-volunteer force, the Army, ready, resilient, capable, professional. We are the world's best. We are Army Strong.
What a motivating video. And I'm not just saying that because I'm Army. Ladies and gentlemen, to deliver the keynote speech tonight and make our first awards presentations, please welcome a combat veteran that has served around the world and is a staunch supporter of diversity. And for those of you who didn't know, he just so happens to be the son of a retired U.S. Air Force Senior Master Sergeant, but the Army didn't hold that against him. Please help me welcome the 34th Vice Chief of Staff of the United States Army, General John F. Campbell.
Well, thank you very much. What a great opportunity, a great honor to be here. I have to add one thing. My wife is also from the Air Force. She was an Air Force nurse, and we met in Germany when we were both lieutenants, and that was, let me get it right now, 30 plus years ago. Well, many thanks to our Master of Ceremonies for that kind introduction. It's really hard for me to express how honored, how humbled, and how proud I am to be with this group. I want to welcome again all of our service chiefs, my fellow vices, flag officers, Sergeant Major of the Army Chandler, and our other senior enlisted advisors, all of our legends, the awardees, honorees, corporate sponsors, academic leaders, family, friends, students, all of you welcome once again. This is an absolutely incredible event. Now, a very special welcome. I was told that some of our wounded warriors would be here tonight with their families, so I'd like to pause and recognize our wounded warriors for their sacrifice that they've made for our country and for their continued service. So if you have wounded warriors here, please recognize and give them a round of applause. I have to make one correction as well. So as we were eating dinner, you saw the slides flipping up, and it had all of our distinguished officers, SESs, and it showed their rank. There was a mistake up there. Bob Farrell, will you stand up, please? So they had Bob there as a major general, but a couple of weeks ago, he was our latest 3-star for our Army as our G6. So Bob, congratulations. So I know nobody in this audience need to be reminded, but when I get an opportunity to talk, I always tell everybody that we continue to be a nation at war. And tonight, we're able to enjoy this fellowship and celebrate the accomplishments of our awardees because we have men and women on point, in harm's way, in Afghanistan and around the world, securing our freedom. This continues to be very hard for our Army family. We continue to have casualties. We've had 39 casualties in 2014. So we continue to be a nation at war, and we can never, ever forget. I'd also like to make a special note, again, to recognize Vice Admiral Michelle Howard, soon to be the Vice for the Navy. And I don't get this opportunity much, and they need special recognition. So Michelle, if you could stand up one more time. I know you're over here. And I want to So Monday in the tank or the DMAG or some other meeting that we're going to be at, Michelle, stand up. The vices will critique me, the fellow vices. So I want you to see who you got to face again. So Jay, Mark, Larry, I know you're all here. If you'd stand up one more time. Fellow vice team. I also take every opportunity to thank our military families and to recognize our great spouses, and many here tonight. And sometimes we really do forget who has the toughest job in the Army. You know, when I changed out as the vice, and General Austin is here, he and I switched out. He's number 33, I'm number 34. We had a pretty short transition. And you know, usually I'm a very positive guy. And after the first few weeks, maybe months with the Army staff, and I'd been the G3 and I fleeted up, but I felt like some of the initiatives and the programs that I was trying to work with the Army staff just wasn't getting any of the respect that it deserved. So one morning I brought in this sign, I put it on my door, I taped it on the office door, and it said, "I'm the boss, don't forget it." And later that day, I was probably at another DMAG, another tank, another meeting. I came back from lunch for that meeting. I found a note that my staff had taped onto that sign. It read, "General, your wife called, and she wants her sign back." So, Ann, I'm going to hold on to that sign. But again, thanks to our great spouses. We couldn't do what we love to do without you. So, once again, for all of our military spouses, a round of applause. Well, a lot of my comments will be Army-centric, as we're the lead service this year. But again, I'm a Purple. I'm a joint officer, and I've served 2 tours on the joint staff. We could not do what we do without our brothers in the Air Force, the Navy, the Marine Corps, Coast Guard. We could not do what we love to do. But I need to share a little bit about one of our great African-American leaders in our Army history. That's General Roscoe Robinson. He graduated from West Point in 1951 with a degree in engineering, and for 35 years, during one of the most important eras for race relations in our country's history, he fought in Korea, he fought in Vietnam, and as a lieutenant, he served as a platoon leader in a segregated all-black unit in a time when black men could not serve in positions of authority over white men.
Through perseverance, determination, and a strong educational foundation, he went on to become the Army's first African-American four-star general, an inspiration to all who have overcome adversity in life. Our military has a challenge of attracting minority youth, like Roscoe Robinson, into our officer ranks. Drawing minorities into STEM-related fields is even more difficult. For example, and I think you all know the percentages, the percentage of engineering college graduates in the United States is below 5%. While the average of the 93 countries that make up the National Science Foundation is well over 13 to 14%. China graduates 31%. Add to this that only 5% of our engineers are African American or Hispanic, and the talent pool that merits our focus at events like this becomes even more clear. I'm confident that your Army can compete with any employer when it comes to attracting STEM professionals. We offer multiple scholarships. We're on the cutting edge of technology, and I can guarantee you a job for any hardworking individual and potential for advancement. STEM expertise is fundamental to our ability to defend our nation, yet we're no longer leading in the world. BEA provides a forum where leaders in the public and private sector come together to inspire and develop current and future generation of STEM professionals. You heard that earlier. I commend you all for putting this important event together and mentoring future leaders in STEM, and we all ask for continued efforts in this area. I want to make note of our host tonight, Major General Ron Johnson. I recently received a report from West Point on the terrific work his team has been doing organizing West Point leadership, ethics, and diversity workshops, specifically focused on STEM. And they just completed an event in Atlanta with the Atlanta West Point Society that was led by several of the Academy's engineering students, and it exposed the local youth to Army programs for those interested in STEM. And these efforts to educate are having an effect, as West Point is not meeting what we need for African Americans. So organizations like this, efforts like that will continue to draw applicants to West Point, critically important. In addition to West Point, Army ROTC is among the leading sponsors of college education. And despite our physical constraints, the Army currently provides $240 million in scholarships to almost 13,000 students across the country. Students at over 1,000 universities and colleges have access to Army ROTC, including full-time programs at 23 historically black colleges and universities. But we must start well before students reach college. We have to start, like this event here, at least in high school. The Army Educational Outreach Program is working across the country in providing STEM educational opportunities to middle and high school students of all social and economic backgrounds. Right here in our nation's capital, the Mentoring and Service Program, 100 Black Men of Washington, D.C., recently partnered with the Walter Reed Institute of Research to increase diversity and expand the STEM opportunities to middle and high school students. The result was over 150 additional applicants and 83 participants in the 2013 program at Walter Reed. Overall, in 2013, the U.S. Army Medical Research and Material Command's Gain in Education of Mathematics and Science program, otherwise known as GEMS, hosted over 1,500 student interns, 50 near-peer mentors, and 13 resource teachers. These statistics are pretty remarkable, and I applaud the efforts. But let me transition to the theme of this dinner: trust beyond expectations. Trust beyond expectations. I could not think of a more appropriate theme right now. Our military profession is built on the bedrock of trust. The trust that must inherently exist among our soldiers, between our soldiers and their leaders, and the trust between the Army and the American people. Polls consistently identify the armed forces as one of the most trusted professions, and maintaining the trust of parents who send their children to serve in our military is essential to the preservation of the all-volunteer force. The Chief of Staff of the Army has identified one of his top priorities as building soldiers committed to our Army profession. And on a side note, if you watched any of the news stations this morning, you would have saw General Ray Odierno and Coach Harbaugh in Afghanistan, and that's why the Chief could not be here tonight. But as the video pointed out and highlighted, we are ready, resilient, capable, and professional. We have earned this trust and must protect it by living the daily values of our profession. To maintain the trust between our soldiers, civilians, leaders, and family members, we must remain vigilant at ensuring the total force is always ready and resilient. And I define resiliency as the mental, physical, emotional, and behavioral ability to face and cope with adversity, adapt, recover, and then learn from those setbacks. We can't anticipate the future. And building resiliency has to be part of our culture, akin to building physical fitness, so that when we are called to act, we're physically, mentally, and emotionally ready. Not only our soldiers, but our families and our civilians. Please allow me to pause for a moment again to thank our civilians, our Department of the Army civilians, all of our armed forces civilians, for their resiliency over the last few years, especially 2013. We halted their pay raises. We halted their pay raises, we made them question their job security, we furloughed them, yet they remain committed to the service of our nation. Again, will you please join me in a round of applause for our great soldiers, or civilians. In addition to trusting each other, our warriors, many of them here tonight, have to trust their technology and their equipment. And having commanded soldiers in combat in both Iraq and Afghanistan, I'm confident that they do. When soldiers want rounds on target, they trust that they can call on an M777 howitzer with Excalibur rounds to give them the precision fire they need within 2 meters. When soldiers believe that there might be an improvised explosive device, an IED, they trust that they can see the enemy in placing it during the day or night with their Gray Eagle UAVs, with their hand-launched Puma UAVs, or their J-Lens aerostats with over-the-horizon cameras. They trust that they can jam the IED with their man-packable Thor frequency jammers, or detect it with their Minehound ground-penetrating radar and metal detectors. And if they do hit an IED, the soldiers are protected by the best body armor and the best vehicles in the world. The mine-resistant ambush protected vehicles, or the MRAP, and the double V strikers decreased casualties by over 30% in Iraq and Afghanistan. Their development and acquisition tested the military-industrial complex, but in December of 2007, 1,300 MRAPs were being produced every single month. And the design, the acquisition, and the fielding of the double V-hull striker took just 18 months. If we put our minds to it, this nation can do anything we want. If we have to fight in a chemical or biological environment, our servicemen and women trust that leaders in science, technology, engineering, and math, like Mr. A.J. Thornton, one of our award recipients tonight, have given them the best protection available. Likely the most powerful way that technology builds trust, though, is our medical field, caring for injured warriors, inspiring confidence in the all-volunteer force, that we have their back when they go to war. 12 years of sustained conflict has led us to rapid advances in battlefield technology and trauma care in a relatively short time span. Studies from conflicts in Vietnam and Somalia revealed that 7 to 10 battlefield deaths were caused by bleeding in the arms or legs. So we transitioned quickly to the newly designed combat application tourniquet and hemostatic dressings that facilitate rapid blood clotting. Medics now give antibiotics immediately after an injury, and once aboard a medevac aircraft, a patient receives an IV with red blood cells and a plasma mix that mirrors natural blood. Flying hospitals with experienced surgeons strategically positioned across the battlefield perform surgery at forward operating bases just minutes after an injury. The most complex cases are evacuated on C-17s to the next level of care in Germany or all the way back to the United States. And they can be at the best medical facility in America in just under 72 hours from the time of injury. What is most important in all of this are the tactics, the techniques, and procedures that scientists, doctors, and engineers have built. The Joint Trauma System brings together experts from the most forward-deployed medics to scientists and stateside laboratories for collaboration and then disseminating updated lessons learned, research, and emerging technology via the web. Telebehavioral health enables Army medicine to deliver clinical behavioral health specialists and services at a distance via electronic communications. Army medicine has deployed approximately 2,000 portable video teleconference systems globally to support soldiers in need. In 2013, we provided 29,000 provider-to-patient encounters and provider-to-provider consultations via telebehavioral health. During World War II, survival rates for an American with a combat wound was around 70%. Today, we are over 97% for those who reach advanced medical care. Our soldiers, our sailors, our airmen, and our Marines can trust beyond expectations that they will be taken care of. The final phases of medical care can be where the effects of engineering and technology are most prominent. Losing a limb or having a permanent disability no longer means that your time in the service has ended. Prior to 2001, a prosthetic arm could only perform 2 or 3 functions, such as turning your wrist, opening your hand, and it could not perform these simultaneously. Now we are engineering prosthetics that can perform 29 discrete motions using neural signals from the brain to allow more intuitive movement. The latest technology enables an above-the-elbow amputee to pick up a grape and eat it. Sergeant First Class Petrie, pictured here, is one of our Medal of Honor recipients. And when I shook his hand at the Army-Navy game this year, he literally wrapped his prosthetic fingers around my hand in a natural motion. Colonel Greg Gatson, also pictured here, commands a garrison on Fort Belvoir despite losing both of his legs in Iraq in 2007. He's been a leader in the development of prosthetics, just like he led the West Point football team and troops in combat. He was the first to test a microprocessor knee that uses artificial intelligence and sensor technology, making it possible for above the knee amputees to walk with a natural gait and again perform as warriors. You know, Greg's not here tonight. He was actually up at West Point speaking at an event at West Point last night. But I talked to him. I told him I wasn't going to embarrass him. But I did say that I was going to bring out that many people know that Greg is not only a warrior, a soldier, the commander down at Fort Belvoir, but he's also a movie star. And a couple of years ago, he was in a blockbuster movie called Battleship, where the Navy had to take on a group of hostile aliens. Now, I'm not saying that the Navy couldn't have beaten those aliens without the Army's help, but I am told that before they cast Greg, the movie was just going to be called Ship. Now, Greg is a fearless, resilient warrior, and he is an inspiration to many of us. The signature wounds of our recent wars are the invisible wounds associated with traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress. The Army Medical Research and Material Command is managing the largest TBI research investment in the world. And they've established a partnership with the NFL, General Electric, and Under Armour, and launched a $60 million research effort to accelerate brain injury detection and prevention. We now understand the importance of brain rest after an injury. And Army Medicine has a comprehensive TBI treatment system at our hospitals worldwide to include multiple concussive care centers and theater. When I was in Afghanistan, we had 11 forward positioned at the height of that surge in 2010, 2011. And they have a 98% return to duty rate. Engineers have designed the blast gauges that soldiers wear on their kit that enable medics to accurately identify those at risk for TBI after an explosion. Doctors and engineers are developing pen-sized testing devices that can draw a soldier or a football player's blood immediately after an incident and test a sample for blood-based biomarkers of a brain injury. What better way to maintain the trust of your soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines than to provide the best medical care in the world? Trust beyond expectation. And I've told you about the equipment already in the hands of our soldiers, But think about what our Army scientists, our engineers are developing for our soldiers of tomorrow. Micro UAVs the size and shape of a dragonfly with cameras and sensors. Soldiers wearing an Iron Man-like exoskeleton that enhances their ability not only to run farther and carry more, but monitor their vital signs, rapidly close wounds, and stop bullets. Today, we intercept incoming rockets, artillery, and mortars with kinetic weapons such as the phalanx gun. In the future, we will use directed energy or lasers to destroy these types of threats to our forces. So for the students in the audience, for our academic leaders in the audience, this is exactly what we need for you all to continue to build upon to keep our nation up on top. Technology is important, but as General Creighton's, our 26th Chief of Staff, reminded us, people aren't in the Army. People are the Army. And so it goes for the entire Joint Force. And what I love most about the Army is the interaction with people from all walks of life, the challenges and the rewards of bringing together a team and succeeding because of its diversity and its wide range of talents. The most important way we in the armed forces maintain trust beyond expectation has to do with the way we treat our people. We build trust by ensuring the American population that when they join the United States Armed Forces, they will be treated equally, regardless of color, gender, orientation, religion, or ethnicity. And the military is a historic leader in diversity. From the 54th Massachusetts charging the barricades at Fort Wagner, as you saw in the movie Glory, to General Eric Shinseki, the first Asian American Chief of Staff of the Army, to my battle buddy in Iraq, Vince Brooks, the first African American, first captain at West Point. And now, finally, we're going to have an African American female four-star admiral, Michelle Howard. And Admiral Howard's leadership is particularly important today as we move forward with incorporating females into all branches of the military, similar to how our African Americans led the efforts toward equality through their service in the Civil War, both World Wars, Korea, Vietnam. Our female service members have proven repeatedly over the last 12 years in Iraq and Afghanistan that they have an important role in combat. So when people ask me about my feelings on the issue, I always ask by inquiring them, why should we waste the talent of half of the American population when we know that they will perform magnificently? General Roscoe Robinson excelled in the military because of his determination. General Roscoe Robinson excelled in the military because of his determination to overcome adversity. He made diversity his strength as he transitioned between very different assignments, and he excelled at all of them. From service in Liberia as a junior officer, to representing our country in Asia as a commander of U.S. Army forces in Okinawa, and finally to serving in Europe as the Army representative to NATO. He was often the face of America to the rest of the world. In 1993, just 2 months before he died, Roscoe Robinson was presented the Distinguished Graduate Award at West Point. In his speech, he relayed that when he went to the military academy as a cadet, his mother told him, "If they don't treat you right, come back home." Our society certainly did not always treat him right, but he never returned home. He instead went on to lead our Army. Today, the Army has dedicated an auditorium at West Point to this great leader, and ironically, as I talked about the medical area, a medical clinic serving the 82nd Airborne Division, where the division commander was General Roscoe Robinson. So we never forget what he did for our military. Today, as mentioned before, we have 3 African American four-star generals who resemble Roscoe Robinson in their ability to excel in diverse positions and proudly represent the United States Army around the world as a CENTCOM commander, as U.S. Army Pacific commander, and as the leader of the globally deployed Army Materiel Command. Like General Roscoe Robinson, their success marks another milestone for an institution long hailed as an exemplar of diversity. And I just got to add a side note. In 239 years of our Army, we've only had 209 four-star generals. Number 1 was George Washington. and today we have 3 African American generals. That's pretty special. Now, I trust beyond expectation that the group gathered here tonight will continue to lead the military and American society in the fight for diversity and equal opportunity for all who choose to serve. And I think it's appropriate to close with a quote from Booker T. Washington. Excellence is to do a common thing in an uncommon way. Excellence is to do a common thing in an uncommon way. Building roads, administering first aid may be common things, but do these things with the IEDs in your path, and then build medical devices that literally give back wounded warriors their life. Those are uncommon ways that scientists, mathematicians, and engineers are building hope for our future. It is the excellence that we see in this room, not only among our award winners, but all of those working to make our lives and our world better, that inspires us to trust beyond expectations. Thanks very much, Army Strong. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I take great personal pride in presenting our first award this evening to the United States Army recipient. Brigadier General C. David Turner commands the South Pacific Division of the United States Army Corps of Engineers. Accompanying him to the stage is his spouse, Marcia, and as the Engineer Division Commander, Brigadier General Turner guides a workforce of more than 2,000 strong, managing a $1.24 billion military and the Civil Works program. His leadership is exemplary.
His division encompasses California, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, and parts of Colorado, Oregon, Wyoming, Idaho, and Texas. His command includes defending and protecting our nation, responding to disasters, and managing the nation's water resource infrastructure for economic growth and environmental sustainability. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States Army recipient of the 2014 Stars and Stripes Award, Brigadier General C. David Turner.
Now it's my honor to present the 2014 Stars and Stripes Award to the Senior Executive Service recipient. Because we do not select one from each service, our recipient represents all of the services. Mr. Alvin D. A.J. Thornton is the Director of the Engineering Directorate, Edgewood Chemical Biological Center, U.S. Army Research and Development and Engineering Command at Aberdeen Proving Ground, Maryland. Accompanying him to the stage is his spouse, Jacqueline. As the Director of Engineering, Mr. Thornton oversees the formulation and execution of policies required to manage and direct team personnel support activities for program life cycles of chemical biological defense systems. He is also charged with additional technical responsibility in managing and executing acquisition program activities for assigned chemical biological defense systems.
The Edgewood Chemical Biological Center is a research and development organization of 1,600 scientists, engineers, and technicians.
Mr. Thornton directly manages more than 800 people and provides leadership for research, development, test and evaluation, and engineering support. Ladies and gentlemen, we present the SES recipient of the 2014 Stars and Stripes Award, Mr. Alvin D. Thornton, or more lovingly known as AJ. Congratulations, Mr. Thornton, and thank you, General Campbell. To present our next award, please welcome to the stage the Sergeant Major of the Army that has served in all tank crewman positions and has had multiple tours as a troop, squadron, and regimental master gunner. A distinguished leader and advisor to the Secretary and Chief of Staff of the Army, the 14th Sergeant Major of the Army, Raymond F. Chandler III.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It's my privilege to present the 2014 Stars and Stripes Award to the non-commissioned officer recipient, Sergeant First Class Melvia May Kendrick. Accompanying her to the stage, actually, is Andrea here tonight? Okay, her daughter, Andrea. Because we do not select a non-commissioned officer from each service, our recipients represent all the services. Come on, Andrea. Or Sergeant First Class Kendrick enlisted in the United States Army in 1999, and she was later assigned to the 7th Combat Support Group, working as a combat support, service support automation maintenance officer as a subject matter expert in SAMS, ULSG, and CAISI. She joined headquarters 1,110th Signal Battalion as a senior information system operator and maintainer. Subsequent assignments include the Division G6 for the 101st Airborne Division, Air Assault, and she was the Information Systems Team Chief and was deployed with the 101st G6 to Iraq in 2003 and 2004. In June 2005, she was assigned to headquarters in Alpha 442 Signal Battalion as an instructor and writer for numerous courses, from the Warrant Officer Basic and Advanced Course and Senior Captain's Career Course to the Advanced Leader Course and Senior Leaders Course. As Sergeant First Class Kendrick and her daughter Andrea Lopez are escorted to the stage and stand near me, we are going to continue to read the citation. But before we do, what I'd like to say is, this is an example of a United States Army non-commissioned officer, and I'm proud of her and every one of the 500,000 other non-commissioned officers that serve our great nation. Proud to serve with you, Sergeant.
She was subsequently assigned to the 201st Signal Support as the Northern Node NCOIC, maintaining communications for the northern half of Korea. In her next assignment with the HHB 101st Airborne Division Air Assault, she planned, executed deployment annexes, and provided signal guidance to over 700 personnel within her battalion. Currently, she is a military evaluator and has written 4 systems capability limitations reports in support of the total Army acquisition process of fielded systems. Ladies and gentlemen, we present the non-commissioned officer recipient of the 2014 Stars and Stripes Award to Sergeant First Class Milvia May Kendrick. Congratulations, Sergeant First Class Kendrick, and thank you, Sergeant Major of the Army Chandler. To present our next award, please join me in welcoming the 33rd Assistant Commandant of the Marine Corps, General John M. Paxton, Jr.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant Colonel Pritchard Brown, and to members and founders for the Bay Stars and Stripes. It is my honor and privilege tonight on behalf of the United States Marine Corps to recognize the 2014 United States Marine recipient of the Bay Stars and Stripes Award. Colonel Michael Langley is the Assistant Division Commander of our 3rd Marine Division in Okinawa. Michael is unable to be with us tonight because he is currently serving as a senior lead for Advisor and Assistance Team with the 215th Corps in RC Southwest in Helmand Province. Accepting on behalf of Mike tonight is Brigadier General Select Terry Williams, Headquarters Marine Corps. And I would, thank you, Terry. Ladies and gentlemen, I would, if I may tonight, give you one sidebar. As we were getting in our vehicles to come to the dinner this evening, our Commandant was getting on a telephone, and 6 o'clock our time, and it was 02 in the morning in RC Southwest in Helmand Province. But the Commandant sent a runner over to the CAN, or the living accommodations there, to wake up Colonel Langley. Now, he didn't wake him up to tell him he was the Bay Award recipient, because Mike already knew that. He woke him up to tell him that last night, our Commander-in-Chief signed an order sending some names over to the Senate for confirmation for promotion to Brigadier General in the United States Marine Corps, and one of those names was Colonel Michael Langley. So Michael's enjoyed 28 years of service. He's a great Marine, and we're honored to recognize him tonight. Thank you very much.
During his distinguished career, Colonel Langley has served as Deputy Executive Assistant to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Officer in charge of the Special Operations Training Group, and has attended the Naval War College and the Army War College. Ladies and gentlemen, we salute the Marine recipient of the 2014 Stars and Stripes Award, Colonel Michael E. Langley. Thank you again, gentlemen. Congratulations, Colonel Langley, and thank you, General Paxton. Now here to present our next award is the 30th Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Jonathan W. Greenert.
thank you. I took my time up here because everybody loves smooth jazz, right? So it's my privilege to present the United States Navy 2014 Stars and Stripes Award to really a special person, an inspirational leader, and I'm talking about Rear Admiral Annie Andrews. Now, everybody knows if you don't get your seed corn right, if you don't recruit right, then nothing else will really matter. And Annie is our commander of our Navy Recruiting Command, so she's there for a purpose. She leads 26 recruiting districts and over 6,000 recruiters. She's especially focused on diversity, of course, and that recruitment because it brings America's very best talent, as J.C. Campbell said earlier tonight, to our Navy, to our nation, and it ensures that we maintain that warfighting edge that we need in the future. But there's more. Annie previously served as the director of what we call total force management, and that means, well, she was in charge of money. She was in charge of personnel, and money is power in this town. We all know that. She's a powerful person. She managed 320,000 billets in this job. Those are positions, and a $30 billion budget in manpower and funding, and she did it remarkably well. Annie was responsible for manpower solutions for our key new programs. We have a lot of transformational, very disparate programs coming in. You have to get the right people in the right places at the right time, and that was Annie's job. She brought in positions for our programs like the Littoral Combat Ship, the Zumwalt-class destroyer, very cutting edge, our new Ford-class aircraft carrier, our Joint Strike Fighter, the F-35, a new concept which is to put ballistic missile defense ashore with personnel there, missiles, radar, and all. We call it Aegis Ashore, and of course, cyber teams, as she brought that into, if you will, the 21st century. Throughout Annie's career, she has displayed unwavering dedication to our sailors and the remarkable young men and women who really underpin our proud all-volunteer force. As General Campbell said earlier tonight, and I underline, it is this nation's asymmetric advantage around the world. Now, we have seen the finest men and women serve in our nation, and they all continue to impress me as they impress all of you. So I applaud Annie's effort in recruiting and managing sailors, managing budgets. She does it all. She's our most deserving of this award, and I'm very proud to have her here tonight and welcome her to the stage. Annie?
During her tour at Recruit Training Command, she led the training efforts of more than 100,000 sailors for duty in the fleet and was instrumental in the commissioning of the Navy's only immersive simulator trainer, the USS Trayer, also known as Battle Stations 21. Ladies and gentlemen, we present the United States Navy recipient of the 2014 Stars and Stripes Award, Rear Admiral Annie B. Andrews. Congratulations, Rear Admiral Andrews. And thank you, Admiral Greener. Now to present our next award, please give a warm welcome to the 20th Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force, General Mark Welsh III.
Ladies and gentlemen, first let me mention that I am extremely proud to know that the United States Air Force will get to host next year's event. And thanks for the opportunity to be here with you tonight, especially to stand here in front of this incredibly distinguished group of great Americans, and to look out at this incredibly humbling amount of talent we have sitting in the room tonight. I'm here tonight to recognize a guy that I think an awful lot of. His name is Brigadier General Cedric D. Curious George. Curious once worked for me, and it was a terrible experience. I'm going to get to repeat that experience here in a moment when I get to stand here and take pictures standing next to somebody who is smarter, better looking, more talented, in better physical condition. This is not a good moment for me. But it's a great moment for Cedric George and for our Air Force, and I am so proud to introduce him to you tonight. He is the commander of the Warner Robins Air Logistics Center at Warner Robins Air Force Base in Georgia, and in that role, he commands a complex and thousands of great airmen who perform depot maintenance on all variants of the F-15, the C-5, the C-130, and the C-17, and all of our Special Operations Forces aircraft. He has 8,400 employees who look to him for leadership, for guidance, and for inspiration, and he provides it in a remarkable fashion. He does everything from structural and component repair to manufacturing and modifications of avionics, airborne electronic and weapon systems, system repair, calibration, certification, software development, sustainment, everything that's required to keep our great fleet flying. As he's coming to the stage, I would just like to tell you that there is not a better officer in our Air Force. There is not a more impressive young man in America, and there cannot be a better recipient for this award. It's an honor to be here to present it. And I'd like to ask General Les Lyles, who is an icon in the material management business in our Air Force, to join me for this presentation.
In service to our nation, for more than 26 years, General George is also responsible for providing a ready source of critical item maintenance and repair by supporting peacetime maintenance requirements, meeting wartime emergency demands, and accomplishing expeditionary aircraft maintenance and repair. Ladies and gentlemen, we present the recipient of the United States Air Force 2014 Stars and Stripes Award, Brigadier General Cedric D. George. Congratulations, General George, and thank you, General Welsh. To present our next award, please welcome the 2nd Deputy Commandant for the Mission Support of the United States Coast Guard, Vice Admiral Manson Brown.
Good evening. I have the pleasure of introducing the United States Coast Guard recipient of the 2014 Stars and Stripes Award. Admiral Robert J. Papp, Jr. is the 24th Commandant of the United States Coast Guard. Accompanying him to the stage is his spouse, Mrs. Linda Capral Papp. Admiral Papp understands that leaders must selflessly serve their people to ensure that the tide of opportunity lifts all ships together. Under his leadership, particularly over the last 4 years, the Coast Guard has made some very, very impressive strides. In the past year, enlisted and officer recruiting efforts yielded historic highs for underrepresented minorities at 41% and 34% respectively. Even in this time of downward budget pressure, he recently increased opportunities for our highly successful college student pre-commissioning program, which pays for the last 2 years of college students attending historically black colleges and universities. This program leads to a commission in the Officer Corps. Admiral Papp during his watch, promoted our first Asian American Rear Admiral and first African American Vice Admiral. A personal mentor for many of our officers, he has clearly enhanced the pipeline of diverse prospects for future promotion to flag rank in the Coast Guard.
Admiral Papp consistently devotes his time, talent, treasure to promote diversity. He addressed each of the last 4 National Naval Officers Association's annual conferences and was recently named an honorary member, joining the roster of historical giants such as the Navy's Golden 13. As many in the audience might recall from last year's dinner, Admiral Papp is a staunch supporter of the Stars and Stripes. During his keynote last year, he enriched the chronicles of the Coast Guard history by lifting up the service of individuals such as Richard Etheridge, keeper of the all-black Pea Island Life-Saving Station in the late 1800s. Under his direction, the Coast Guard has named one of our newest fast response cutters after Richard Etheridge. Ladies and gentlemen, we present the United States Coast Guard recipient of the 2014 Stars and Stripes Award to Admiral Bob Papp. To present our last award, please join me in giving a warm welcome to the Vice Chief of the National Guard Bureau, Lieutenant General Joseph Langell.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Frank Grass, the Chief of the National Guard Bureau, I am honored to join this distinguished group tonight and to present for the first time a National Guard recipient award for the 2014 Stars and Stripes Award. I cannot think of a more deserving citizen soldier than Brigadier General Linda Singh. I'd like to welcome her tonight and her husband, Raj Singh, to the stage. To the appointment of Brigadier General Linda Singh in June as the Assistant Adjutant General for the Maryland Army National Guard comes as 2 firsts. First, in the 377-year history of the National Guard, she is the first female commander of the Maryland Army National Guard, and she is the first African-American commander of the Army National Guard in Maryland. I think this comes at a special time in our history, as General Campbell mentioned earlier tonight. The discussion of women across all spectrums in our military is at the forefront of many discussions across our nation. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome Brigadier General Linda Singh and her husband to the stage, please.
Brigadier General Singh has an extraordinary dual career. She is a managing director at consulting giant Accenture and serves as the land component commander and advisor to the adjutant general on all Army Guard areas. She also has a remarkable personal history. She is a high school dropout and one-time runaway who found a path to leadership. That's why she is profoundly committed to mentoring young people, because she knows that's where the transformation can begin. Ladies and gentlemen, we present the National Guard recipient of the 2014 Stars and Stripes Award to Brigadier General Linda L. Singh. Congratulations, General Singh, and thank you, General Langell. Now, please welcome back General Johnny Wilson.
Well, what a great evening this has been. First, a special thank you to the Vice Chief of Staff of the United States Army and the Sergeant Major of the Army Chandler for your participation in and support of the 2014 Stars and Stripes Dinner on behalf of the United States Army. Likewise, thank you, Professor Ron Johnson, for your support and leadership of the Planning Committee. We were blessed this year with an extraordinary steering committee of men and women who have been actively involved in this process since the summer. The Career Communication Group staff, led by Gene Hamilton, Ramsey, who supported the Air Force, Moran from the Navy, Jones from the U.S. Marine Corps, Reese from the Coast Guard, Brantley from the National Guard, and Sergeant Major of the Army. I want you to know, when we say the non-coms are the backbone, you should see Sergeant Major Kanoy. She was absolutely tremendous. And what about a special shout out for Kanoy? Then Miss Hughes, Miss Partee, Miss Robinson, Miss Bagel, Miss Richardson, and others who were responsible for pulling together this evening's program. Also, special thanks to the United States Army Band, Pershing Zone, for their outstanding performance, to our Joint Armed Forces Color Guard, Chaplain Bailey, for his inspiring words, our vocalist, Sergeant Hinton, and the David Brown Jazz Band. What about a hand for all of them? Now, we especially want to thank our extraordinarily talented MCs, Lieutenant Colonel Pritchard Brown and Major Pritchard Allen. Now, this year, the United States Army passes the Stars and Stripes leadership baton to the United States Air Force, and the Chief of the Air Force has already said that he is willing and ready to go there, General Campbell, so we'll have to keep an eye on the Air Force. Now, before we conclude, we're in for a special treat as we welcome back our MCs to perform I'm Proud to Be an American.
If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life, and I had to start again with just my family by my side. I thank my God above to be living here today, 'cause this flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, from New York to LA. Well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time to stand and say. Time to stand and say. And
And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. Proud to be an American, and I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Well, maybe we can get them on American Idol. So officers, thank you for closing us out in grand style. Now we'd like to invite each and every one of you to join us for dessert served out in the lobby. So good evening, thanks for being with us, and God bless.